Branding today is really inside out.
Martians landed.
Yes.
Wearing Prada suits.
Yes.
Drinking Henry Seltzer.
Yes.
Chewing juicy fruit.
Yes, and?
Your branding here.
Yes, brand.
Your message here.
Yes, and?
A verse about
Yes.
your product here.
Yes.
I'm Hersh Rephun.
Yes, and?
I'm a message therapist.
Yes.
And I have a podcast.
Yes, brand.
That's right, that's it.
Yes.
We'll help you fix the world.
Yes.
Or your bottom line.
All right.
Your bottom line.
Get it. I get it. Welcome to the Yes Brand Podcast.
In the hot seat today on Yes Brand is Jonathan David Lewis, a strategist who's spent years helping companies get clear on how they show up and who's now working in a very different layer of the problem. Um, because what happens when the strategy is sound, the messaging is clear, and things don't move is a strange place to be. What do you do in that situation? And that's where Jonathan lives now, at the intersection of brand leadership and the internal gaps that just don't show up on a slide deck. Um, we're really excited to have him here, and welcome, Jonathan, to Yes Brand.
Thanks so much.
It's great to have you. You spent years solving positioning problems, and I think this is a good opportunity this episode because there are so many terms that we all use: messaging, positioning, branding, and there's different ways for clients for founders to interpret like what that means. But you spent years solving positioning problems. What was the moment where you realized that's not enough?
Oh my goodness. My entire career has been spent in the decline of my original industry, which is advertising. So obviously the rise of the internet, the rise of social media really accelerated the disruption and decline of the power of mass market advertising. So by 2017, 2018, the leaders in my company, we were having a lot of discussions around what's going on, why some of our work is less powerful than it used to be, but certainly we're losing the influence within our company's businesses. And it was right about that time that our own business, and I'm not exactly sure why, but we had our own, we call it the McKee Wallwork, that's the name of my company, the
Right.
McKee Wallwork recession. And that was about 2018. And our forecast was down dramatically and had a hardship. And that was when the founders at the time sort of gave us some leeway. They said, you've been talking a big talk for several years now in our industry and changes you want to make. Okay, give it a shot, see what you can do. And we begin to implement some dramatic changes to our own business model, shifting from an advertising agency upstream to still doing positioning, but recognizing that branding today in the modern culture is not just a market problem. It's an internal people culture and what we would say identity problem. So branding today is really inside out.
Yeah. That's a really good point, and I really agree with, because I consider the way I try to do it, because sometimes if you say identity, then people think, well, this is, same thing with brand. They'll think, well, this is logo, this is external,
Mhm.
this is all amplification of who we are. But
Mhm.
obviously, identity, and I use the term sometimes identity level, like I say, this is an identity level decision that you need to make, um, is really about uh, who, who they are
Mhm.
intrinsically. Like, who are they? Where is all this coming from? Where does this stuff emanate from? Um, so what was the shift? Uh, Talk a little bit about the
Yeah,
shift
I
you
think you nailed it when you said, branding is an amplification of who they are.
Yeah,
Well, who are they?
yeah,
And in today's modern business environment, I mean, everything is changing so fast. There's so much that's uncertain. And this is really why I just wrote the book that's releasing next month in May, The Rebuilders. So much has changed around us, and I never would have guessed that I would live through a time like we're living through right now, where
Yeah.
technologically, culturally, geopolitically, our own local politics, everything has changed, and the it's not just that things are evolving or shifting. A revolution has occurred, and we are in a new world, and the old world has ended. And so, if you're a business leader in that environment, um, there are so many identity crises occurring as business models are challenged and succession is underway in many companies. Generations have changed. These are deeper issues that have to be sorted out before you can then have a clear, powerful external amplification of who you are, which traditionally we would call branding.
Right, exactly. Pre-branding, kind of a pre-branding stage. Um, let's talk about leadership for a moment because I think that these are, and certainly in my experience, these are leadership questions. These are leadership, it can be more than one, it can be a leadership team, but this is leadership level stuff. Um, what changes when the constraint moves from the business to the person who's leading it?
Interesting question. I think I've seen many reactions to the uncertainty and chaos around us in the culture. And you think, what is the role of a leader today? If you're running an organization, what is my role? Historically, you could get away with just managing what exists. But in
Right.
many cases, that's not enough anymore. So what is my role? And I've seen so many reactions. I've seen people, run and hide. I've seen them put their head in the sand. I've seen a lot of business owners sell and just they throw their hands up. Oh my, I'm out. This is crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with this. I've seen people enjoy watching others and institutions crumble or other political parties fall apart. I've seen people delight in some of the chaos. I think these are really unhealthy reactions. And so the book, The Rebuilders, is a proposition about the posture a leader should take in today's world, which is that don't run, don't hide, don't blame, don't feel like a victim. Take responsibility for your industry, your community, and rebuild. Yes, things are crumbling, but rebuild. And from a very specific standpoint, before you can figure out who you are, before you can then figure out what your business model should be and your business strategy, you have all this interpersonal conflict and issues. And so one of the main reasons people call us and one of the main issues they're dealing with is actually they're feeling indecisive. They don't have
Yeah.
the perspective or the relationships or the confidence to be decisive in the way they used to be. And so again, there's this feeling of uncertainty and malaise and even feeling paralyzed.
Yeah. When we connected previously, I had asked something about, the cost of shifting, the cost of making all these changes, and you said that the move had cost you certainty. You
Mhm.
know, what does that look like in the day-to-day world?
Well, I mean, AI. So what's going to happen here, right? Are we all losing our jobs? Is it completely transforming the world? Is it the next electricity or internet, or is it something more confined where it's going to do that in certain industries and maybe touch less on others?
Yeah.
What do we do with that? It's all pervasive. Geopolitics. What do I do with the prospect of the Strait of Hormuz being blockaded?
Right.
Inflation, rising costs. I mean, so don't what I would suggest is nobody really knows fully what's going on. And if people come to you with answers, those answers are at risk of being outdated pretty quick.
Yeah.
We have to step back. We have to focus on what will get us through probably the rest of our careers being a time of uncertainty and change. And
Yeah.
to me, it's not just a single methodology or a set of answers. I think it's I think it's character. I think leaders need character. There's too much burden. It's too hard. There's too much uncertainty. How do you handle that kind of burden? You have to develop character. And that's something that I've had to deal with myself. And I never set out to build character, but the hardship of owning a business through all this uncertainty certainly has brought good and bad out of me. So again,
Yeah.
even the format of the book, is intended, it's daily entries. It's intended to be something to both awaken a leader every morning to how much has truly changed and help them accept the new world they're in, but also orient their character towards whatever their calling is in their business, industry, and community. Because it's the character. We'll get to the answers. Most leaders I work with are extremely smart and capable. It's those character issues. Am I going to walk into this situation and act out of insecurity? Am I going to walk into this situation and act out of what I used to know works, what worked 10 years ago, and have those, assumptions? What kind of character am I taking into the room with me?
Yeah. And it's interesting because um, we're experiencing ourselves as professionals in the field that we're in. We are not immune to the same challenges that our clients face, that people face, a brand faces, a business faces. Every single person is a brand and has some brand responsibility. It just is. It's a word that applies to life and work and, how we carry ourselves through the world. And in a world that's so rapidly changing, the whole game is different, and technology is one piece of it. Economy is another. The volatility in the world is another. And I think you really uh, struck a nerve with the admission or affirmation that that's just how things are going to be.
Hmm.
Things are just gonna change. Now, in your evolution, people still see you as a brand strategist
Sure.
in that way. Does because this is applies to everyone as well. Does that understanding of who you were carry into your work today and get in the
Abs-
way in some way?
Absolutely. In some ways, it gets in the way. In some ways, it's still true. What's different
Yeah,
is, 10, 15 years ago, if you were an advertising agency, which is how we were founded nearly 30 years ago, everyone understood what that meant. People knew when to call you, and there was a certain power to the work you did. If you had enough money, you could buy enough impressions through major media channels, put a decent message on there, and you could move markets, raise awareness, raise preference. As that model has declined or at least been marginalized to only being appropriate for certain times and places, we had to step back and say, well, who are we? Same thing, our own identity. Who really are we? What do we know? And everyone's being challenged in this with AI now. Who are we? Are we our tools, or is there something more? And so for us, a brand is a relevant, shareable identity. And branding is a human issue. What am I going to wear today?
yeah,
What kind of car am I going to buy to transport myself somewhere? What kind of house am I going to live in? These are all expressions of who we are on the inside and what kind of tribe we're a part of. That part doesn't change. But if you get confused if you confuse your core competence with your tools, with your business model, you're in trouble. So we had to go through that wilderness wandering ourselves
yeah,
through the years and change things. So we've experimented with changing nearly everything in our business model over the last 8 years, and for the most part, it's been very successful.
yeah. I think that one of the things um, that I cling to is that we have to separate between execution and what all of that signal setting that happens, way upstream,
Mm.
because a lot of businesses will seek the answers in execution. They'll look at PR, they'll look at web marketing, they'll look at all these things that are an amplification of the identity level work, and look to those facilitators and executors to answer those questions that you are now kind of focusing on, that I focus on as well. Um, the who are you questions, which need to come first.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm curious how you feel about the idea of, there's a point at which clarity isn't the issue anymore. It's whether the person leading the company can actually hold, you know, what they've built. Can they consistently hold that?
Yes. Interesting. That's absolutely getting to clarity is one of the hardest parts, but it's not the most important part because even if you get to clarity, meaning say you start with a group of leaders, there's a lack of alignment, there's a little lack of focus, they may not know who they are. You work on that issue, relationships are restored, people are focused, and they know who they are. Then you have to go live it, which is what you're describing.
Yeah.
And most of us, it's sort of like listening to a great podcast. You might get the dopamine and get, your mind's blown, but then you go back and get sucked into the gravity of life and you don't live out, who you are in a disciplined manner. That might be a good definition of being a human, the lack of integrity and just not really being who you are all the time or who you're meant to be. So yes, that is, we've measured four key internal dynamics that are correlated with growth. And things like lack of leadership alignment or lack of focus are correlated with lack of growth. But then the other two that we've measured are loss of nerve, which if you get clarity, it does give you a sense of confidence. But the last one is exactly what you're mentioning, and that's inconsistency.
Mm,
So inconsistency is actually highly correlated with lack of growth. So you can know the answer, but if you're all over the place, unfocused, undisciplined, you're not going to get to where you're trying to get.
yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that because a lot of it is, and this is entrepreneurship and business management is, of course, there's trial and error. And of course, as you pointed out earlier, there's a lack of stability or there's volatility in the marketplace. There's volatility in existence, but it can't all be haphazard, right?
Mhm.
We need to be, or leaders need to be the spine of that organization, and consistency is key because on the other end is an audience that is going through all kinds of other input and going through all kinds of changes and reacting.
Mhm.
And you can't appear to kind of confuse agility for reliability or something, like you have to remain constant in some ways, or you lose the trust.
Yeah, that
Um,
I totally agree, and that's why I think getting back to character. I think there is, integrity, character, consistency. These are highly related concepts. So it's the character through the uncertainty. That's what people are drawn to. If you're a
yeah,
leader, they're not drawn to the person who's inconsistent. That's not a leader. They
yeah,
might be agile in their execution, reacting to the marketplace, but they're a consistent human who will hopefully, represent those things necessary to get through an uncertain time. So I think you're nailing it in terms of what is required from leaders today. People need high character leaders, and that doesn't happen overnight. And so even the structure of the book and being it's 6 months, 24 weeks of daily entries to because it is a journey of building character and then experimenting as new things come at you. Am I applying my character? In fact, one of the best analogies I've heard of character is sort of everyone starts as a block of wood, and every decision we make, we're simply carving a little bit out of that block of wood.
yeah,
And over time, you turn into something based on those decisions. And I think if you've gotten yourself into a place where you need to grow character or you're young enough where you don't have as much as you need, it takes time to keep carving and changing that block of wood. And I think that's the call today for leaders is to
Yeah.
begin the hard work of character building. And then, of course, get back to what you do every day, rebuild your business model, remind people who they are, be relevant to your marketplace. All of those things are absolutely necessary, but none of it is possible if you're a low character leader.
Yeah, very well said. Very well said. I have one more. Uh, just want to give you the floor based on this thought. A lot of the listeners of this show that I engage with, that I interact with, I see a theme that comes up, which is founders who know that something is slightly off, but they can't name it. They can't put their finger on it, but they know it, it's not the product or what they sell or the campaign. They're feeling something up here, but something slightly off. They can't really name it. What would you say to those founders who are feeling a tug, but they're not quite sure what's off because everything else seems to kind of be working?
If you feel a tug, if you're uneasy about something, that's a calling of some type. And you can listen to it and move toward it, or you can ignore it and deal with a bigger issue later. And so that I think the unease, the tug, um, for a leader who's listening, who's watching, who's observing, that is a call, and that's probably a call to an adventure they may or may not want to take because adventures are risky, but they're rewarding. So look for the call, listen for the call.
That's fantastic. Jonathan David Lewis, thank you so much for being here. Please let the audience know where they can find your book that's coming out, where they can get a hold of you.
Absolutely. So the Rebuilders, Daily Foundations for the Leaders We Need. You can go to mckeewallwork.com to pre-order. It's available next month. Really honored to be here. Thanks so much.
All right.
If you liked the show,
Yes, and
it worked for you,
yes, then.
subscribe and leave a
Yes, friend.
5-star review.
Yes, friend.
Tell all your friends.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Did I make it